This is The Weekly Set, an official podcast of TheTotalScreen.com.
I wish I was the monster you think I am.
You have come here to beseech me?
Can't ask for your soul.
Madness can be a medicine for the modern world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Weekly Set, the official podcast of The Total Screen. I am your host. My name is Tyson, and joining me today, as always, is my partner in crime here at The Total Screen, William Rohrig.
Hello.
This is episode 290 of the podcast, and we are going to be discussing Wandavision, episode 5, on a very special episode.
Yep. You
You love those that play on that concept. Do you remember, like, very special episodes?
Yeah, I remember. They always had some message, some special message for the, like some special moral message for the viewer.
That's where you find out, like, one of the characters was, like, molested or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It was, like, a very common trope. If you're young and you don't remember this is, like, sitcom culture.
Like,
you know,
they weren't called special episodes, but they were advertised by the networks as a very special episode, you know?
It'd be like Tuesday on a very special episode of The Brady Bunch or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's how the episodes were marketed.
Yeah.
So
that was when, like I said, you found a character was molested where, like, a grandparent would die.
It would always be like, just having the characters confront some serious social issue, that they normally don't bring up in, like, the regular episodes of the show or something. Like the regular episode would be like goofy hijinks, and then this would be like goofy hijinks, but somebody's like, but like somebody's sister has cancer and they're dying.
Or it'll be like the episode of Saved by the Bell where Jessie was taking the drugs to stay up because she was so busy, you know.
Right,
I'm so excited.
Right, exactly.
If you know that trope from Saved by the Bell, that would be a very special episode of Saved by the Bell. And so that's what this episode's kind of playing with. I guess the real reference is, to the dog, perhaps. With the kids growing up and learning to deal with, like, loss or something. This episode in particular was very, like, it had that family sitcom vibe. There's definite, like, the opening definitely had, traces of Growing Pains in it, as well as, Full House and some other ones. But it's that family sitcom thing, which we haven't really had previously. There was some Brady Bunch kind of reference in the last episode, but this is like a whole different kind of, a family sitcom trope that kind of really kicked off in the 80s. And became very commonplace. So you get those television blocks like TGIF, for example, that were like big, like, family sitcom blocks. And that's kind of what this episode was playing on. And mainly with it showing Wanda's children kind of growing up immediately, aging up in like a second, basically.
Right.
And that happened twice in this episode. Once where they went from like babies to just being like 5 years old. And then they went up from like 5 to like around 10, just because they were told that 5 was too young to like take in a dog. And they said, well, when would be good? And they said like 10. And then they like looked at each other and immediately aged themselves up to 10. Which ties into another aspect of this, which is the whole kind of concept of like hiding your powers kind of thing is kind of out the window now, apparently. This actually came up in discussion between Vision and Wanda, where Vision's like, what are you doing? You're doing this stuff like right in front of the neighbor. What's going on? Like, why aren't you trying to hide it? And she's like, oh, I'm so tired of hiding it. And this kind of is initiating kind of like a rift between Vision and Wanda that kind of plays out through this episode as Vision starts to kind of become aware of all the kind of odd things he's been perceiving and what that actually kind of means.
Yeah, Vision's becoming more aware of what's going on. I guess, like, he's become more aware of, like, the unreality of things.
Mm-hmm. We've also made it clear in this episode that Wanda completely knows what's going on.
Yeah, it's been 100%. Yeah, I mean, if you had any doubts Wanda wasn't like in on, and she still might not be fully in on everything happening, because she could be being manipulated by an outside force.
That seems to be heavily hinted at still.
Yeah, that still seems to be.
Episode.
But she knows that Westview and her existence there is fake. She knows there's an outside world. We see that very clearly.
She's not trapped in it either. She also makes that clear. She like straight up walks out of it.
Yeah, she straight up walks out of it because a sword creates a drone that Monica Rambeau like gets an idea, and they create the drone that is like 80s appropriate, because at this time the whole sitcom era is the 80s, and so they figure out that everything that goes into what Darcy starts calling the hex. Everything that goes into the hex changes to fit that universe. You know, we see that with
period appropriate, or
yeah, period appropriate. We see that with the outfit Monica Rambeau like left the hex with. You know, she went in wearing, you know, standard issue, you know, Kevlar and stuff, you know, for like a police officer, and she came out, you know, wearing 70s clothing, you know, but then she like shoots it and she realized it looks like, you know, 70s style clothing, but still the Kevlar that she went in with. It just changed shape and look to fit the world that she went into.
What's interesting, and it's something that was already obvious when Monica Rambeau was thrown out of the hex before, and when she was in her period appropriate attire. So we already kind of knew that, except it wasn't really like addressed. And it was addressed in this episode now, is that stuff that can leave the hex still holds its form. So it's not an illusion, because it goes outside of the bounds of the hex and it is still transformed.
Yeah, it does not change back into what it was, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that says a lot about what could end up happening with Vision and Wanda's children, you know?
Yeah, although we do know that Wanda has some control, because noting that when Wanda does leave the hex to confront Sword, she changes back into what she looks like in the MCU. She's not wearing the 80s clothes. She's not wearing the 80s hairdo when she steps out.
She's got like the red leather jacket and everything that, you know.
Yeah, she looks like Wanda. She has her Sokovian accent that we haven't heard her use in a while.
I saw an interview with her and she was saying that like the Sokovian accent never went away. It was just like minimalized.
Right.
Kind of like somebody, you know, that's been in America for a really long time and, you know, their accent starts to fade.
She really emphasizes that accent in this episode when she's addressing Sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know, because people were like, that's another thing with this episode. People were like, oh shit, she still has the, you know, I thought they forgot about that. It's like,
yeah, it's interesting. Like, I actually saw an interview and they were talking about how hard they worked on the Sokovian accent, because they were purposely trying to make it like not Russian. Right. Trying to like fit into like Eastern European but not Russian sounding, you know, specifically because they didn't want to sound Russian because of Black Widow.
Right, yeah.
Because that they were going to cover a Russian accent there at some point, and
Black Widow's supposed to be Russian, so yeah. They didn't want to get in the way of that. Exactly.
So yeah, it's interesting, like, that they put in work, and that she says, which, you know, I guess it's whether or not you buy it, that even when it seems like the accent was gone, that it was still there. It was just kind of drastically minimalized, you know?
Yeah.
I guess it might be worth looking at again to see if there's like speech patterns that are different from the way the actress speaks, you know?
And again, when she's inside the hex, she's not using that accent. She's talking like a normal American.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, definitely. It's gone there. It's gone inside the hex. And interestingly, it's also period appropriate inside the hex. So like when it was in the 60s, she talked like this, you know, like had that like weird jubilant kind of tone that like sitcom actresses had, you know?
Right.
Like she sounded like, you know, like Lucy, you know, or something, but not high pitched.
So what we can gather from this is we know that I think it's safe to say that the hex, that the Westview anomaly was created by Wanda. It's safe to say that she has full control over what's going on. She can come and go as she pleases. She is aware that it's not real, and she does not care, because for her, that's a reality that she wants to live in. It's like a safe space for her, apparently.
They also brought up some kind of villainous connotations with that that and saying that, like, the people under the control of the hex are suffering.
Yeah.
They made a clear point to say that, you know?
Yeah, they made a clear point. Yeah, they made a clear point to say that. And especially, you know, like, when Vision, you know, gets suspicious and, you know, like the one guy, his coworker, he like taps into his brain and he kind of like uncovers the fact that they are under, you know, a form of mind control.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's, Norm.
Yes.
Norm starts going off about, I think like his wife, you know?
I think it was his father or something that he said was like sick or something.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he starts going off about his father being sick and stuff. You know, that's when Vision realizes something's very wrong. But we know that these people who are acting like, you know, typical sitcom people are not acting of their own volition,
mm-hmm.
you know. And there's also like another like kind of unsettling part where like Agnes, you know, she comes in and she kind of stops and she says, you know, she asks Wanda for directions, you know.
Yeah,
like,
should we take this over from the top?
Yeah, should we
like
take
she's
this
an
from the
actress
top?
Or something?
Yeah, should we do this from the top? And Wanda, you know, Vision's standing right there, and this creates like an awkward moment because like Wanda, you know, Vision's unaware of what's going on, and Wanda is kind of acting like, you know, like kind of like, oh shit, you know, the curtain's kind of being drawn back here. I gotta kind of like brush this off and reassure Vision, you know, that nothing strange is happening.
It also adds an implication that perhaps Agnes is a little bit of a different entity than the rest. There was also something that was pointed out in the episode, the one where it was outside of the hex, that when they showed all of the agents, or the agents, all the people in the town, they had information about who they are outside of the town, like who the actual people are that are trapped in there. And hers was the only one that didn't.
That's where we learn that the people inside the hex are real people from the town and not just imaginary people invented from whole cloth.
Yeah, but Agnes wasn't. Like her file didn't have a name attached to it.
Right, yeah, exactly. And she seems to be oddly like aware of things. Like you said, this episode, like Wanda stops trying to hide her powers and Agnes doesn't like have like any like reaction to like the weird things going on,
mm-hmm.
you know, like you would expect, especially like when the first episode, you know, like Wanda went to great pains to like hide shit from Agnes. And in this episode, she's like kind of like, you know, she's kind of like suddenly like, she's like, I'm done hiding. I'm just going to do everything in front of Agnes, and Agnes is not going to respond any weirdly to it. And Vision finds that strange. He's like, wait, what's going on? I thought we were trying to hide our powers.
Yeah, so there's that implication that Agnes might be a little bit of a different case than the other neighbors and stuff, like in this hex.
Right.
But we don't know what that means, you know, like she could be a construct in the way Vision is, you know, or she could be just a person that we haven't yet had identified, or she could be somebody else that's involved in the whole thing, you know, that like maybe is somebody that's manipulating Wanda or causing that. Like there's so many different possibilities for what that could mean, that like all we know is that something's different about her than the other neighbors. We also know that she's referenced her husband a bunch of times throughout the episode. She keeps talking about, oh yeah, when I gotta, you know, get back home to Ralph and stuff like that, but we've never seen him.
Yeah, that's true. She talks a lot about her husband Ralph, but that's somebody we never see, you know, and yeah, so that's like another thing.
Yeah, so there's something different about her than the rest of these characters, which is kind of interesting. We talked about before just this being kind of like playing on the idea of a very special episode, and talked about the dog dying and stuff, and how the boys got the dog or found the dog and aged up so they could keep it.
So yeah. So they aged up so they could keep it. You know, Agnes again is the one who finds the dog dead. Mm-hmm. You know, again, Agnes is involved mysteriously in like the main plot of the episode. And this kind of serves like a dual purpose. Like it's a very special episode because the kids are learning about death, but you know, they're begging Wanda to just like bring the dog back to life because, mm-hmm. you know, she can do that.
And there have been references in this episode to, you know, Wanda referencing her dead brother to her kids.
Well, yeah, because her kid, well, they're brothers, right? And she tells them, you know, she says something to them like, brothers fight sometime. And like, they ask her, like, oh, do you have a brother? And she just kind of stops. She's like, yeah, he's a long ways away or something. No, she doesn't like necessarily like tell them he's dead, but that he's just far away. And yeah, it touches on that. There's all kinds of like angles here because we already got a sense, once you realize that this is a construct of Wanda. I mean, they showed like the last episode, they showed Wanda looking at Vision and it's like dead Vision. It's not like living Vision. And in this episode, they actually confirm that after Age of Ultron, Wanda like broke into the sword facility and stole Vision's corpse. That they were holding,
You mean after Endgame?
Yeah, it's the same movie.
Not Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron was Avengers 2.
Oh, that's right. Damn it. My brain. Endgame. Yeah, after Endgame, after Thanos kills Vision, Wanda breaks in the sword and she steals Vision's corpse because apparently they were holding on to it. And so you got you got the sense that Wanda creates this reality where Vision's alive and her husband out of her grief of losing Vision, and then they bring up her brother and you see she's still dealing with the grief of losing her brother as well. And so this is less about a dead dog than it is about in the children's grief of losing a pet as it is Wanda's grief of losing, her brother and the love of her life. And and she's not dealing with it in like maybe the most healthy of ways,
Speaking of people who aren't dealing with things how we'd expect, what are your thoughts about director Hayward? He's seeming sketchier every time we see him.
He's seeming really sketchy. Like he has like an ulterior motive here for sure.
He made comment about Wanda stealing his body, being against both the Sokovia Accords, but also against Vision's direct wishes that his body not be used as like a weapon. But it makes me think like, that really seems like Sword was trying to use his body as a weapon.
Yeah, I mean, if Vision's like will was like, don't use me as a weapon, and they want to honor that, they would just like bury him in the ground like a normal human and just forget about it. They were holding on to his body. I mean, they weren't just holding on to his body, leaving it in a room and just letting it sit there. They were running experiments and shit for sure, seeing how they could reverse engineer the technology. I'm positive
there's something up with that. And then also with the way that Hayward was armed the drone that they sent in to communicate with Wanda.
Yeah.
And was like just very trigger happy to like take her out and shit. And even like Monica Rambeau's like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck are you doing? And it really plays on the idea that like, this guy's sketchy as shit. Something is up with him, He's like, it feels like if we dwelled on his character for an extra 30 seconds in any scene, at some point he'd lean into somebody's ear and whisper, "Hail Hydra" or something.
Yeah. It's maybe not that, but yeah, I don't think he has like the best, the best interest in mind.
Yeah, there's something sketchy with that dude.
I think he has like, I think he's one of those people that has a rationale that, he's doing this to like, for the safety of the world or the safety of the country or whatever. But, but he's willing to like go to these like extremes to like, go to like these extremes to justify, like what he's doing.
Hey, let's talk about the commercial.
Sure. I didn't find it like that terribly interesting, but you can go ahead.
It's the darkest because it's the Lagos brand paper towels to clean up any mess. And Lagos is the name of the place that Wanda failed in Captain America Civil War.
Oh,
when
that's
she
right.
when she was trying to lift what's that guy's name?
Crossbones?
Yeah, she was trying to lift Crossbones away when he was going to detonate and ended up blowing up the building instead and killing a bunch of people inside.
And that apparently led to the Sokovia like Accords and shit. And it's like, oh, okay, sure.
So this is the most like direct reference to like recent history because like we had the Strucker watch and that's a reference to
Hydra.
Strucker who in Hydra who would like created Wanda and Pietro as they are, like with their abilities.
Yeah.
And then we had the reference to the toaster, I think was like, it was a Stark toaster or something.
Yeah.
And that's like,
Stark
I guess
technology.
people have been saying that that's a reference to Vision because I guess in the comics, like Wanda would call Vision like a toaster sometimes.
Oh, maybe. It's definitely like a reference to Vision because Tony Stark in the MCU created Vision.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get these, it's making the commercials, with each commercial, it makes me more like want to hunt down what's going on, like what they're talking about,
Right.
you know, because there's clear like references to
I don't know if it's like anything more than like cute winking references to like things involving Wanda and Vision.
But it's had the same cast in all of them too in the commercials.
Yeah.
Like it's the same man and woman. Some people have been guessing online that it might be Wanda and Pietro's parents.
Yeah. No.
Are the people that like are in the commercials all the time.
I want to eventually be revealed that Magneto is their daddy. That needs to happen.
Well, even if he was, like, it's not the father that raised her, you know?
Not the papa.
Yeah. Not the mama.
Not the mama. Yeah, exactly.
No, but
that'll be the 90s sitcom next episode.
Even if they do Magneto as her father.
There'll be Jim Henson puppets next episode.
But even if they do Magneto as her father, which I think they're eventually going to do now that they have the rights.
Now they have all the rights, yeah.
And the way they've been tying stuff together already makes me think more and more that that's the case. What I mean by her parents is that it's the people who raised her.
Right.
You know, because clearly Magneto didn't raise her, you know?
No, yeah, clearly not in the end. Yeah.
So it's like her stepfather, I guess, or, you know, whatever. But yeah, I think that's interesting, and I want to see where that's going. I don't think it's just clever little jokes. Like, you know, like saying, oh, here's a period appropriate commercial as well, and this is kind of funny. And the fact that they even showed the commercials in the outside world makes me think it's some kind of a subconscious thing.
That makes sense, because the commercials are part of the broadcast.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's kind of like, again, the broadcast to the outside world, as far as like Darcy and everybody's concerned, is it's a sitcom with opening credits, that all the stuff, the sitcom stuff, commercials included, and then end credits. And anything that breaks from that format happening inside of Westview gets like edited out for the outside audience.
So we talked about this a little bit last week, but like I want to kind of approach you again on it and see what your opinion is. Now that we're talking about the broadcast particularly, do you think it's Wanda editing the broadcast?
I mean, it's hard to say, really. I mean, she does seem to be the one in control, right? I mean, she is the one who, when the sword agent came out of the manhole, she's the one who like said no, sent him back and rewound everything to where that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's like, but I think that's what they're leading us to believe.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's somebody else. Cause what makes me question it, and it's the same thing that made me question it last week, is like, what would her purpose be in editing the broadcast? The broadcast isn't seen by Vision or the people inside the town that she's controlling. So why would she care? You know, that's kind of like my perception of it. That it was edited, you know? Like, I think she's editing, unless she's editing subconsciously. I think whoever's editing is a secondary figure. Perhaps like the real villain of the story or something, you know?
Oh, maybe because the stuff that gets edited out is the stuff that's uncomfortable, right? I mean, it's the stuff that probably stuff that doesn't represent what Wanda wants her, perfect little reality to be.
Yeah. I mean, that's true too. That could be the case, but I feel like there's something more to it. That's the thing that's crazy about this show. It's so good, is that a lot of times there's things that like you don't know if it's a throwaway line or a throwaway comment or reference, or if it's something deeper, you know? And some stuff that seemed like it was kind of like not a big deal ended up seemingly now seems to be deeper. And then there's other stuff that we still just don't know, you know? This is like, this show falls firmly in the territory of like Legion, as far as just being like a really weird, straight up mystery box of a superhero show, you know? So like everything kind of needs to be analyzed. I think that's kind of why this is like much more so than The Mandalorian. This is like, this show fits to like a week by week structure.
Yeah.
And it kills me because like after like the ending, which we haven't even gotten to yet, of this episode makes me want to immediately watch the next episode. If it wasn't week to week, we wouldn't have the time to discuss this, you know, to like contemplate these things. We wouldn't have the time to go like, I think it's this, and be completely wrong. You know? We don't get those moments that we savored in shows like Lost, you know, where we're like going, oh, what's going on with this or what's going on with that? And like having to kind of like find out, having to wait a week So I actually really enjoy that. Like, I've seen some people online that are really pushing the idea of like, you know, that binge watching is a bad idea and we should completely move away from it. And I still don't think that's necessarily the case. I think it is like a case by case scenario. Like some shows work perfectly fine as binge shows, and some shows work better if you have like time between the episodes to think about things and discuss them and theorize them. And I think WandaVision is one of the best examples of that in like recent history, because we haven't had many shows doing week to week recently, especially not like big shows, you know? So it's nice to have something that's like that again. So let's move on now. Let's go uninterrupted now into the part I think both of us actually really want to talk about.
That ending that launched 1,000 memes. Okay, so let's get into this. So when there was the knock at the door, who did you think it could be? Like, what was your first thought?
So we talked about this where you have been able to avoid the rumors and stuff. I haven't.
Yes.
I've heard the rumors. So for me, I kind of thought it was going to be who it was, but not that actor.
Same. So when I saw that, I thought, oh shit. Like they brought up Quicksilver earlier in the episode, right? So I thought, oh shit, it's Quicksilver, isn't it? And then when they showed the behind the headshot, when I saw the silver hair, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely Quicksilver. But I expected a completely different actor. I expected the MCU Quicksilver to be at the door. It was not the MCU Quicksilver. That's what blew me away.
It was the Fox universe Quicksilver.
Yeah, it was the Fox universe. It was Evan Peters Quicksilver, which I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. I was like,
probably the better of the Quicksilvers, right?
Yeah, the better of the two Quicksilvers. Exactly. Like, I was like, the hell? Like, so they managed to genuinely surprise me, because like, I was not expecting that. There was like no way I would have predicted they would have brought Evan Peters back for the show. I was expecting MCU Quicksilver because that made the most sense in my head. And it's like, nope. So they threw a curveball, which is nice. And now I'm intrigued.
Because again, it's like we've talked about with other things with WandaVision, and I just talked about it before, is that when they do something like this, it's not like, oh, this means this. It's like, oh, this could mean one of like 1,000 different things.
Well, there's all kinds of questions now. Like,
yeah.
Is this Quicksilver? Is this the Fox Quicksilver? Is this even Quicksilver at all? Is this like a completely different character?
Is it like, being that actor just like a wink to the audience? Or is it like a multiverse thing? I
love Darcy's like in-universe reaction where she just said, "What? Wanda recast Pietro?"
Yeah. And that's a very sitcom-y thing too, because I mean, all like not just sitcoms, regular shows do that too, but like
that's a sitcom trope. Yeah, like Roseanne did that.
Yeah,
where the one daughter Becky was completely recast like halfway through the series, and when they
came back with Roseanne, they had both actresses back on the show.
Yeah, she was recast, and like even like at the time they made like, you know, a winking nod to the fact that the character had been recast, you know.
There's also famously the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Meta jokes about it. Yep, with the mother.
Yeah, that's like stirred up controversy recently when they did like the reunion, and there was a lot of stuff about her being like, you know, the original Aunt Viv being like very dark skinned, and there's kind of a prejudice even amongst the black community against like more darker skinned black people and stuff, and like there's like a lot of controversy about, was that why, or was there a different reasoning or something?
Well, we know now, like thanks to interviews and stuff, that the first actress who played Aunt Viv didn't really get along with the rest of the cast. I think Will Smith didn't get along with her, and at some point, you know, like it just she left because it just wasn't working out.
Yeah, it's like, it's funny. It's like it makes me like also want to look at, are they going to bring up some of the other kind of similar sitcom tropes that we've kind of seen before?
There's two tropes here. Okay, there's two tropes in one, because they're doing there's the sitcom trope of recasting, you know, a known character, you know, a regular character, but there's also the sitcom trope here of like the wacky relative or somebody that the family knows, coming in from out of town to like cause havoc with the family.
Oh, it's like first line as he sees Vision and says, "Who's the popsicle?"
Yeah, exactly. So this is also like that trope.
The wacky neighbor, that kind of thing.
No, not the wacky relative.
Yeah, but they do, the trope is connected. Like it could be a neighbor, a relative, or something else.
Yeah.
But like, it definitely fits into that. But what I was thinking is like, it makes me wonder, are they going to end up doing references to other kind of similar tropes? Like the cast member that just straight up disappears and is never talked about again. There's a character.
I thought that was Dottie. That's Dottie.
I don't know. Like, the show like Family Matters, for example, there was a middle daughter or something in that show that just disappeared. Like she was on the show and then like another episode happened and she just wasn't there and they never referenced her again.
Poor Emma Caulfield. She shows up in like, she's like the main, she's like a major character in one episode of this, and she doesn't even so much as get a spot on like the board when they're identifying people in the town. So like, I don't know. The Dottie could be the one behind everything.
We're gonna see more of Dottie just because Emma Caulfield, has that Whedonverse cred,
Yeah, she has that Whedonverse cred. Yeah, it's weird to bring in that character, make her like the focal point for one episode, and then like kind of forget she exists when like these are all supposed to be like real people underneath like the influence of what's going on. It's like I said, like maybe she's the one behind everything. Maybe that's why we don't see her.
It's only episode 5, so there's only been like, or this is episode 4. No, 5.
Also, it'd be really in line if Emma Caulfield was like a magical like being who was like influencing things, because like that's kind of like what she was on Buffy. She was like a genie or something on Buffy.
Yeah, she was like some kind of a wish demon kind of thing.
Yeah, wish demon. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that'd be interesting, and that's how you would use like a Buffyverse alumni,
Right, exactly.
It's like some kind of a pivotal role like that. That's the kind of thing you'd want to do with something like that.
Yeah, everybody's looking at Agnes, but people are forgetting about Dottie. I don't know. Emma Caulfield's kind of like a big actress for a one-off.
Yeah, and it could be a few. They might not be the only ones. There could be a whole slew of characters that are involved in this.
They're involved in this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the big question is Pietro? Is he the Fox? Is he the same character from Days of Futures Past? Is he a new character? Is he a new version of Pietro? Is it even Pietro at all? Is it just a fantasy?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it could very well, like the casting of Evan Peters could just be a wink to the audience.
Like I said,
that's it.
Yeah.
He could be playing another random person that was like in that community, that we just hadn't seen yet and then ended up taking on that role when she needed him or something.
Right.
And it could,
Wanda needed her, the case. When Wanda needed her brother back.
Yes.
Because obviously the real, Pietro is not a person in that town. So that she can use.
But then there's also the fact that we know just from Marvel talking about it that this phase of the MCU is heading towards multiverse territory.
Yeah. And we know it's heading towards multiverse territory. We know for a fact that WandaVision is supposed to directly connect to the next Doctor Strange movie, so much so, in fact, that Wanda herself co-stars in it.
Which is titled
Multiverse of Madness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's also, but there's rumors about like Spider-Man having multiverse elements in it. So many other things.
So much so that I think like the bridge between WandaVision and Doctor Strange is going to involve Stephen Strange showing up at the end of the series. This is how
clever Marvel is, because Spider-Man Far From Home teased the multiverse and it turned out to not even actually be the thing.
Yeah.
But it teased it anyways. Like they set it up and then they played it off like a joke, like, oh, multiverse. I can't believe people actually believe that shit, or, whatever. And then now this is the first movie in the new phase of the MCU. And we're already, not movie, but show, I guess.
So
we're already touching on multiverse themes,
Yeah, here's my big prediction. And I want to stress, I did not look at any rumors. I did not read anything online. I don't have any information except for what was shown on the shows and what we know about the next movies coming out. The fact that the next Doctor Strange movie co-stars Wanda. I think the fact is, since the Hex is a magically created thing. I think S.W.O.R.D. at some point realizes that they need to get an expert in magic to help deal with what's happening, and they call in Stephen Strange. And I think that's how
psyched are you going to be if he shows up?
Oh, I'm going to be very psyched.
And you're going to be all, oh!
And I think that whatever they do with Stephen Strange and whatever happens in the climax is how we get into that movie with Wanda and Doctor Strange.
You know how they should bring Doctor Strange into it?
How?
Okay, so they should have like one of the sitcom things be like a mystery.
Oh yeah,
like they're trying to solve something, and they should have Benedict Cumberbatch show up in the town dressed like old school, like Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, I can totally see them doing that too.
Just making like a little meta joke about Sherlock and stuff.
Yeah,
that'd be fucking hilarious.
That'd be fucking hilarious. That'd be great.
Yeah, like I'm fanboying at the thought of Doctor Strange showing up.
Oh, me too.
That's just purely us guessworking, but like.
Yeah, that's just guesswork. I didn't read anything. Like if there's a leak out there that confirms that, I want to stress, I did not look at that. This is not me repeating any leaks I read. This is conjecture on my part based on like, known information, like information that's not leaked from the show.
The only point that we're using as reference to it is just the knowledge, the common knowledge that Kevin Feige put out at the announcement of Doctor Strange 2, that it was going to involve Wanda, and that, like they were going to directly tie WandaVision to Doctor Strange 2. Like, that's what we're using as reference to all of these ideas. That's it,
Right, exactly.
But like with what they've already been doing with the show, it wouldn't be the most shocking cameo.
No, it would not. This was the most shocking cameo. I don't think they could top that. They're not topping Evan Peters as Quicksilver.
They could, but like it wouldn't be Doctor Strange. Wouldn't be the thing that would be shocking. That wouldn't be as shocking.
Well, if John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic suddenly shows up,
that would blow my mind too. Or like, there's other things they could do too. I mean, if you start getting into the multiverse and talking about other Marvel properties, from ages ago or from other past partnerships, there's lots of things they could do that would.
I don't want them to get too crazy with it.
I don't think they will, but like there's lots of things they could do that could top Evan Peters, but Evan Peters is already like mind blowing,
Right. We don't need to see like Captain America from like the awful 90s movie like show up.
I mean, they already brought in Evan Peters. What if they brought in Magneto,
Yeah, I don't know. There's a point where they can take it too far and stuff's really fun. So
they could, but it's going to be interesting. I know there's some people that are even a little bit upset. I think they're reading too much into what happened at the end of this episode. They're reading too much into like that being the direction that the MCU is going to handle for X-Men.
No,
like they're saying like, because Evan Peters shows up, that means that they're going to just directly tie the original, the new X-Men cast with Evan Peters and everybody.
No, when the X-Men movie happens, they are definitely recasting the X-Men. It's not going to all be the Fox actors.
Yeah, I think at best this is a sign of the multiverse.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the biggest, deepest connection. Like I said, this could also just be a wink to the audience, and nothing else.
Also, I think the multiverse can also like help explain how they can like kind of like tie some of like the Sony Spider-Man stuff to the MCU. Like Venom isn't supposed to be in the MCU, but if they want Tom Holland fighting Venom, well, I guess the multiverse can explain that, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And you also got just like the success of the Into the Multiverse, or Into the Spider-Verse animated movie. Like that was phenomenally successful. And I think that really pushed forward the idea that, like Tom Holland has said that he wants to do a Spider-Man movie that has the old Spider-Man, the other Spider-Man actors in it,
Right. And I think Tom Holland also said he does want to do he does want to do a film with Tom Hardy where he's fighting Venom.
Yeah. So it's just all more reason to look into like multiverses, like the future. And this is like I said, this is heavily implied with not just this show, not just Doctor Strange Multiverse Madness, but like an offhanded joke from the last movie of Phase 3,
Yeah, Spider-Man 3 is heavily rumored to be very multiverse focused. There's a lot of rumors. Yeah, that's this phase.
This phase of the MCU is multiverse, that's what they're getting into. Phase 2 was space, right?
Phase 2 was, everything, I don't know.
Phase 2 introduced, like, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Phase 2 was, like, the galactic stuff. It's so hard because, like, both Phase 1 and Phase 2 were all leading up to Thanos and Endgame.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like that was the arc. I'm not sure what the overarching multi-year arc is supposed to be, but we're definitely, like, the theme is now the multiverse.
Yeah, definitely. There's also, like, I think, Kevin Feige said that they're not even doing an Avengers movie in this phase.
Nope, no Avengers 5 in this phase. Although I see some people say
Which is
Avengers
fine because
4.
they're already, I mean, they're crossing over the characters, and that's what really matters,
Yeah,
what matters is that the characters cross over, not necessarily that we get them all.
Right. And it makes sense to not have an Avengers movie in this phase because, like, the Avengers are kind of broken up at this point, right? They lost their leadership. The two leaders of the Avengers, Captain America and Iron Man, are gone. Wanda is retreated into her own reality. Vision's dead, or
Black Widow's dead.
Vision's dead. Black Widow's dead. Who knows what Hulk's doing? Thor's hanging out with the Guardians. So there's kind of really no Avengers at this point.
Yeah.
In the timeline.
And it wouldn't make sense to force that. This is how clever the MCU is.
Right.
There's so many times, and I've said this, like, every time I'm watching, like, a comic book sequel or something, there's this weird thing where, like, they go from the first movie to the second movie, and they have to, like, raise the stakes. It's like, oh, we had one villain in the first movie, so we need two in the second. And they have all these things like, okay, well, this was big, now this is bigger, and kind of thing. And I always thought, like, the smarter move after doing something really big, like, you build up to something really big, the smarter move is to follow that up, instead of trying to go bigger, with something more personal. And I think that Marvel's done that quite a few times now. Like, they did it with, like, even after the first Avengers movie, they did it with, like, Iron Man 3 was, like, a much more personal movie than it was, like, a big movie,
Yeah.
And so, like, they've kind of already touched on these kind of things, and, like, Marvel's just been really clever, or I should say Kevin Feige's been very clever with his stewardship over Marvel. And it just makes you wish somebody would, have the same level of competence with, like, Star Wars, for example. Or somebody with any level of confidence for the DC universe.
Right.
But yeah, it's just definitely cool. I mean, I guess that kind of covers everything we want to talk about for this episode, right?
Yeah, that covers everything that I can think of.
Yep. So that's it. So next week we're going to be talking about episode 6 of WandaVision. So look forward to that. We're definitely excited. You can tell we both talked about the fact that we can't wait for the next episode. So, if you're excited to be watching it, know that we are too.
I'm looking to see, Evan Peters in action.
Oh yeah. I mean, he already called Vision a popsicle, so he's already like aces in my book.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so here's what's coming up in the week ahead, or in the next couple of weeks, I should say. We're recording this on Monday, February 8th, 2021. Today, Black Lightning returned on the CW. On Thursday, February 11th, Clarice comes to CBS. That's the Silence of the Lambs based series.
And if you didn't know it was a Silence of the Lambs based series, the promo shot, she's holding a lamb. I mean, get
Didn't
it?
it also have some weird tagline that used both the word silence and lamb? Like,
no, I didn't see
like
that.
I could have sworn, like, cause you sent me the promo thing and it said something like, be silent, little lamb, or something.
No, that was the commentary on the tweet.
Yeah, that is the comment on the tweet. It says, please be silent, little lamb.
Yeah, that was making fun of the promo shot. Because it's so on the nose. Like, the only way it could be more on the nose is if they, like, said something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right away, like, that right away, like, tells me, like, what kind of, like, where the creators of the show are, and they are not being subtle, this isn't, that tells me off the bat, this isn't going to be, Hannibal level writing.
Oh, well, I mean,
Jesus.
did you anticipate that was ever going to be the case?
No, I did not. But
speaking of Hannibal, though, Mads has been stirring up the rumor mill again for Hannibal.
He has. I saw that. He's getting my hopes up, and I just have Hawkeye face from Avengers, like, Endgame, where, like, don't give me hope.
Yeah, don't give me hope.
Yeah,
don't give me hope.
Yeah, don't give me hope. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh God, that would be so great. But moving on Sunday, February 14th, The Great North returns to Fox. Mama Named Me Sheriff comes to Adult Swim. On Wednesday, February 17th, Good Trouble returns on Freeform. On Friday, February 19th, For All Mankind returns on Apple TV+. That's one of like 2 shows on Apple TV Plus that makes me kind of jealous that I don't have Apple TV Plus.
Right.
And that's just because Ron Moore does that show. So I'm like, yeah, why couldn't it be on Netflix? God damn it.
Because Apple has a lot of money, I guess. I don't know.
Curses, Apple, curses. Also, Tribes of Europa comes to Netflix on that day. And then lastly, on Sunday, February 21st, When Calls the Heart returns on Hallmark, which I have absolutely no interest in.
The most important show. We are actually going to dedicate our entire next podcast to When Calls the Heart.
Yes.
It's going to be called,
next 300 episodes of podcasting from the two of us.
It's going to be called, When Podcasts the Heart.
When Calls the Podcast.
When Calls the Podcast. So look forward to that. We're going to be going in very deep into like the characters and the plot lines and everything.
The Hallmark Extended Universe.
The Hallmark Extended Universe.
We're going to have all these theories about how all of their Christmas movies tie together.
Exactly.
The Hallmark Christmas Universe.
Hallmark Christmas Universe.
But that's it. As I said, next week, more WandaVision. Till then, follow me on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. Follow Will. He is at Voxel Hero. Check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as our site, thetotalscreen.com. You can subscribe to this podcast through any major podcast client like iTunes or Pocket Casts. And the entire backlog of our podcast is available on our YouTube channel. So you can go back and listen to us talk about, Game of Thrones seasons past, where we're like, man, this final season of Game of Thrones is going to be amazing. And other such joyous moments in our podcasting careers.
Right, exactly.
So, until next week, thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
If you would like to reach out to us and make a comment, send an email to contact@thetotalscreen.com. Stay tuned to The Total Screen for the very best in genre